Hello, hello. Here I am, Jay High with Fastfall Productions. I'm going to do another sports video. I haven't done too many of those. But NBA just started back up, and I thought that I just had this idea of trying to measure the team's success in our lifetime. I think that's um, the 21st century is a fair way of measuring it. I was born right before that. No bias. That's why I chose it. But it's like I think okay, if your team won a championship in the 70s or something, it's like you don't feel that connected to it. But if it happened pretty close to when you were alive, or if you were alive, um, then and more modern, I feel like you're more likely to feel connection to that. And I would love to see kids across America with their local team, the team that they're close to, and seeing the success. And so I'm going based off of location. Might get a little wonky. I'll kind of explain it as I go through. But yeah, so the methodology behind this is a little bit. This is kind of what I chose. So I think that the end of season placing is important. Now you can debate about East versus West and all these kinds of stuff, but what I did when averaging out placings for the season, I gave a team either first if they won, second if they were the runner-up, third if they lost in the conference finals, fifth if they lost in the conference semis, ninth if they just made the playoffs and then immediately lost, and then if they didn't make the playoffs, including if you lost the play-in, then I gave you a specific uh, point total. I think it's like you could just put a 17 for everyone, but I feel like it's different. If you're going to a game, it's different than if the team misses the wild card by 3 games compared to if they go 10-72 or something. I feel like there's a different feeling there. I know sometimes teams throw for draft picks or whatever, but I was specific. Now I'm not only going based off of that. I feel like sometimes the jump from making playoffs and not making playoffs is more than winning the first, second, and third are all one different. So to give a different kind of uh, a different kind of point total. I did something down here. Also, there's 26 seasons. I went from 99 to 1000 or 2000, excuse me. I know technically that's the last century, but the championship was played the uh, in the 21st century in the year 2000. I didn't cut off January 1st, 2000, and all that. So 26 seasons. Some teams didn't play all 26 seasons. Um, but yeah, and again, I base off of location. So if a team moved, I'll kind of explain that. And so some teams don't have as many years and stuff. Because if a team moves across the country, those people probably are not going to root for them as much. Maybe you recognize the players and stuff, but you probably feel like a lack of connection to them. But as I was mentioning earlier, a way of rewarding more of doing well in the playoffs, because first, second, or third is going to help your average. Add them all together, divide by 26. That's your average placing for across all seasons. But I wanted to do a different kind of point total about winning. I think that I measured this to where I had it at 1 point as first for making the playoffs. That's a big deal. I think that I upped it to 2 just to make it a little bit not too crazy, but a little bit more of an achievement because a little bit more than half the teams make it for the NBA, but still an achievement. So semis 4 points, then 8, then 12, then 20. At first I had it as 16. At first I had him doubling, and I was like, okay, that gets crazy. Because if you win and then don't get any more, I think that wouldn't be as impressive as getting second and third. Like, I think that is pretty impressive. You can debate maybe winning should have more. First, I had it doubling each time, then I spaced it out by like 2 and then 4. I had it at 16. That didn't feel like enough, so I put it at 20. It's experimental. So if you don't want to trust either system and have your own way of counting it, go for it. This is just kind of the data that I pulled, and I made a spreadsheet, kind of went around and just gauged how each team did across the 26 seasons. So let's start with the worst. The Vancouver Grizzlies. They were only in this century for 2 seasons, then moved to Memphis. They got 26th place both times. 0 playoff appearances, so their score is 0. Maybe they would have done better. Hard to say, but sucks for them. A lot of people don't even know Vancouver had a basketball team. They thought it was only Toronto. They got other stuff going on, I guess, but yeah. Not much to say about them. We got my hometown, Charlotte. Now, it's been the Bobcats specifically is when I became a fan of the team. Just when I was starting to get into sports and all that, and it's rare to see a Bobcats only fan, pretty much, or at least people that don't really have a connection to the Hornets beforehand. So only made the playoffs 6 times across 24 seasons. Excuse me, not 26, because the Hornets moved to New Orleans in the 2002-2003 season. Then the Bobcats started up. It's kind of like the Browns and Ravens type thing that happened in the NFL. But I'm going based off of location, even though it's technically a different franchise. I feel like if I'm a kid, I go to whatever team is right there. If I was young, or if I was born earlier, then I wouldn't suddenly become a New Orleans fan and not like the team that's local. If it's if it moved a very small amount, maybe that's one thing, but that's a third across the country. Like, New Orleans is pretty far away from Charlotte. But yeah, known for having the worst record at one point in a shortened season, had 7 wins. Did get a couple conference semifinals. Not a lot of success. More so like earlier in the century, whatever, couple decades. Who knows? But the worst team that had a long stretch, in my opinion. Now we have our other non-existent team, the Seattle Supersonics. They had a longer time in this century. They only made the conference semifinals 1 time. The playoff score of 8 across 9 seasons. Average placing of 16th compared to Charlotte has 19. That's not very good. Eventually became the Thunder. Moved to Oklahoma City. I think that's slightly better. Still not that great. They didn't really have too many terrible seasons. Like, they missed the playoffs a couple times where they got like 17th or 18th place. Their last season was pretty bad. They got last place, I think. But for the most part, they weren't the worst ever. It's just, if they had stayed, then who knows, but alright. Now, this is complicated. I mentioned earlier about New Orleans. Now, due to Hurricane Katrina, a lot of games were played in Oklahoma City. I'm not counting that as Oklahoma City because that was like an emergency. It wasn't like the team got officially moved. Yeah, their name changed. I'm going to keep it all the same. If you want to count the OKC Hornets with the Thunder, you could. I feel like it's pretty connected. But so they were the New Orleans Hornets and the OKC Hornets and the New Orleans Hornets and the New Orleans Pelicans. Yeah, but they made the conference semifinals twice. Average placing 16.96. Playoff score of 22 across 24 seasons. Not too bad. A little bit less than 1 point per season, kind of like how Seattle was. Uh, I think slightly better overall. These two are comparable, but you know, bottom of the barrel, didn't do that well, but did it at least got to the playoffs a few times. It's the East, so or are they in the East? New Orleans seems East to me, but maybe they weren't. Let's see. They're in the Southwest Division with Memphis. That's funny. Anyway, next we have the good old Washington Wizards. Last season not too great, but they've had moments. Everyone knows John Wall for his dancing abilities. They had Michael Jordan at one point, but this is kind of round out our bottom tier. They were in existence for all 26 seasons, and they got 26 playoff score, 4 semifinals, 5 immediately losing the playoffs. Not as good of an average placing, because when they were bad, they were bad. But I think having enough playoff appearances and having a score of 1 point per season, I think is enough to have them at the top of this group. Now we're going to the next. Oh wait, I forgot about them. Yeah, that's right. Okay, this is the last of this group. Sorry. Sacramento Kings. People don't really care about them that much. I think earlier they were pretty good. They made the playoffs like once in the second half of this time frame. Not that much, but did get to a semifinal. Golden State's all the rage now, but used to be Sacramento was the better team of NorCal, and got to a few semifinals. Made it 8 times, not bad. A little bit higher of a playoff score, so I think that not the worst, but kind of insignificant for California standards. But now we go to the next group. It's a little bit higher. We have the Minnesota Timberwolves, known for Kevin Garnett. We got Anthony Edwards. There's some high profile players, and they don't have any semifinals. Either they got to the conference finals, or they were 1-out. They just immediately lost. So interesting how it kind of went there. But a decently higher playoff score, average placing's about the same as some teams before it. I think that they're not necessarily that impressive. They had a lot of bad years, but not too bad. Next is Chicago Bulls. We had the shadow of Jordan. There's been some good players. Who knows if Derrick Rose had stayed healthy, they probably would have been a lot better than this. Average placing is not bad. Playoff score is technically less than the Timberwolves, but I think just getting in the playoffs a lot, having an average placing that's decently better. You could change these two. I had the Bulls a little bit higher. Yeah, not quite what they were, but they did make a semifinal. Made a lot of playoffs, almost half of them. That's not bad. Then we have the Memphis Grizzlies. We have 24 seasons, the latter 24 of this 26 time frame, and they actually averaged to be the top half. They have 14 playoff appearances. Again, a lot of ninth places. That seems to be a common thing where if you make it, you immediately lose. Half the teams that make the playoffs do that, so that's not uncommon. But then they have 40 in a little bit shorter time frame and a pretty good average placing. So I think they're a little bit higher than some of these other ones. Then we have the Clippers, a good average placing, made it a lot, score 42. They definitely had potential to do a lot, but Kawhi, things fell through. Fortunately, it just didn't happen. But, they're not the bottom of the barrel. It's just The West was tough sometimes. So then we have the New York Knicks. They had not the best average placing. They've done well recently with Jalen Brunson and Cat. They had Carmelo Anthony at one point, Jeremy Lin, Linsanity, but sometimes they were just bad. They got some semifinals. It's really close. I could see them going lower, but I think they did well enough. Now we have the Portland Trail Blazers, Damian Lillard. I think that Pacific Northwest has kind of rallied around them, and since Seattle lost, Seattle and Vancouver above them, both no longer have teams. So Portland's kind of like the one bastion of the Northwest. But yeah, made the playoffs a lot, a really good average placing. And yeah, made the playoffs a lot. 11 is crazy. Got 2/3, could have been better, didn't quite work out, but that's how it goes. Can't win them all. Then we have the Atlanta Hawks. I feel like they're just not really focused about. Like, I think Trae Young used to have a couple players, but they're kind of just one of those teams that is there. I feel like Atlanta cares a lot more about like the Braves and the Falcons and stuff. But they've had a couple semifinals. Average placing not quite as good, but a solid playoff score. Yeah. Got a lot of conference semifinals as well. They didn't just either get thirds or ninths; they got some fifths too. So they at least got some wins in the playoffs. That's good. Then we have our first finals appearance. We have the Orlando Magic, known for having some big men like Shaq and Dwight Howard. Not the best average placing. When they're bad, they're bad. But they got second place one year and third place another year, and fifth place another year, and then a lot of immediately eliminated from the playoffs. That's how it goes. I think like getting the second and third, that's really valuable, especially for this place on the list. So I can look past the average placing, and yeah, so I had them a little bit above. Good stuff, Magic. Now we have the Houston Rockets. They had their time in the spotlight a little bit. They had James Harden. Now they have some more high-profile players. Sometimes they're characters, but yeah, a lot of these teams have like a few semifinals, a few overall semifinals. I guess conference finals, and then semifinals. It kind of goes down from there. The more easy it is, the more likely they have it. But their average placing is pretty good. The highest one we've seen so far, I believe, 13.73. That's not bad. They had a stretch in like the middle of this where they were consistently a threat. 48, starting to get up there a little bit. Now we have breaking the 50s, the Utah Jazz. They were pretty good earlier on. Not as prevalent nowadays, but an average placing of below 13, 12.92. The closer you get to 1, the better if you can't figure that out. But playoff appearances over half the time. Made it a lot. So let me check. I calculated that right. That seems high. And we got 8, 40, 56. Wow. So it made it a lot of fifth places that'll get you there. So they kept getting like one win in the playoffs. That's good. That was what the Warriors did last season, and that was considered like a huge accomplishment to beat the. Did they beat the Rockets? Yeah, and that was a big deal. But yeah, so below 13, pretty good. Made the playoffs a lot. Now we have the New Jersey / Brooklyn Nets. Technically, you could separate them, but they moved like 15 miles. I'm sorry, it's not the same as Vancouver to Memphis, Seattle to Oklahoma City, or Charlotte to New Orleans. Those are tons of miles. This is 15. moved across the river pretty much. Like, I counted them the same. Now their average placing it's not that good compared to some other teams, but they were in the finals twice. Everyone remembers they had a potentially really good team that just fell through. It was what, KD, Kyrie, and James Harden or something, and they played like 20 games together. But they made the finals twice earlier, back when they were in New Jersey, I believe. So if you separated them, I'm pretty sure the New Jersey half would be better than the Brooklyn half. But they're I think they've been the better New York team. It's kind of surprising. Those finals appearances kind of carry them a little bit. Yeah. Now we get to, I guess this was the top half, because there's 32 technically. But if we're starting to get to like active teams, this would be the top half. 76ers, I feel like people don't care about the 76ers. They've had their time in the sun, but like they had their trust the process, Joel Embiid, James Harden, and they did all right. But they just made the playoffs a lot. And you can argue about the East being easier, but decent average placing, decent playoff score. A lot of these are going to be pretty close. Like, some of these are tied. I think that having a better average placing, making the playoffs more, and they also made it in the, I guess I didn't put runner-up that time, but that's okay. I have 76ers above, but I could definitely see them being switched out with some of these. They're kind of in the same group, I feel like, than what we were before them. But yeah, they were pretty consistent. You don't see them too much anymore, but Embiid's still rocking with them, so you never know. I have another 58. This one being a pretty surprising result when it happens. The Toronto Raptors, and they won. It was 2019. That was pretty surprising. Not really expected to win. There were some injuries, but they did what they were supposed to. Kawhi clutched up, and that win really helps them. They're still a top half team in terms of average placing, but it's a little bit lower compared to some other ones. Like, it barely beats out the Jets. The 76ers technically are better. They've made it more often, but I mean, you won a championship. I don't think you can really rank them that low. Like, if the 76ers had more, like, higher, then maybe. But I feel like that win kind of keeps them. You could trade them out. Their score is tied. Average placing is worse, but they have a win, which is ultimately the goal. You can't do better than winning. Like, you could win 4-0 and sweep Lakers style. I think they had that one loss, but you could try and win better. But ultimately, if you get that win that season, it's the best you can do. You get first place. So I think it's definitely something to achieve. They're definitely the lowest winner on this list. Yeah, they won, but outside of that, they were not that big of a deal. Yeah, they got a conference final, but only made it half the time, 13 out of 26. But hey, they won. That was their goal, and they got that one in the 21st century. So props to them. Now we have. I could see this being a little controversial with them being above the last team, but yeah, I could see it argued. But they made the playoffs 12 times, and they advanced a ton. If you look at this, they got one win 4 times, they lost 7 times. Like, the Suns won more than they lost when they got to the playoffs. Has a slightly better average placing, slightly better playoff score. They got to the finals once, and they got to the conference finals 3 times. So I think they're more consistent. There's this debate about best versus consistent. If you want to be best, then maybe you just look at, you look at how many trophies they got. But I think it's important to look at, okay, it's not just 29 losers. Like, there's other teams that like it's a better season if you make it to the finals compared to if you get last place. Like it's not just if you're first or last, in my opinion. I think that consistency and getting there a lot, or even just measuring achievement like beyond just winning. I think the Suns slightly edge out the Raptors. It's close. You could trade them if you value that win, but it's close. Now we have the Bucks, the team that beat the Suns in that NBA Finals. I wasn't really paying attention that year, and I realized in retrospect that was a pretty crazy year. They got that win, a really good average placing compared to these last two, below 13, the best we've seen so far. A lot of ninth places, but they also got a win, and they got some thirds and fifths. 17 playoff appearances is really good. That's, out of 26, that's a lot. And they were rarely bad. So I think that one win and 2/3 is better than a second and 3/3 in my opinion. And then they made it 5 more times. So debatable, but I think the Bucks are a little bit above the Suns and the Raptors overall. Then we have the Nuggets. They've been, they had Carmelo Anthony, now they have Jokic. They've been pretty good for a while. The West has been so stacked recently, but they were still able to get an average placing below 12, and they would get a 72 for their playoff score, a little bit higher than the last team. A lot of ninth places, but they got to win 2/3, 4/5. I think that is, that's slightly better because they made it the same amount of times, but they advanced to the second round 2 more times. So that's kind of just, I feel like, a clear step to where the Nuggets are just better in, maybe you want to count like wins and whatnot. I feel like the Nuggets probably had a tougher run, to be honest, but yeah. Nuggets are slightly above the Bucks. They both made that top 12, I think, kind of like second highest tier. And then we get it to our top 10. The Pistons. Now, they have not been that relevant. They also only have 12 playoff appearances, so less than half the time. But they made the conference finals 4 times. Runner-up and winner. Like, 6 out of their 12 is getting top 4. That's really crazy. 78 playoff score. It kind of, starts to get a little bit farther away. I could see them argue down, but I think, like, those 6 results there kind of carry them. And they haven't been good in a while. I know they're a pretty fast break team, like fast-paced. They do a lot of fast breaks, whatever. Their average placing not that great. When they were bad, they were bad. But yeah, I think that they showed a lot of excellence during that one stretch earlier in the century, and have them in top 10. I could see it argued where you value consistency, where you have the Nuggets above them, maybe even the Bucks. But I think that they showed a lot of consistency in terms of achievement. Yeah, it's only 6 out of 26 seasons, and then they didn't do that great in the other 6 playoffs they got to, but I think they're up here. So I can see it debated, though. Now we have the Pacers. This is the highest team that didn't win. They made the playoffs 18 times. That's a lot. More than the Bucks or Nuggets made it. And they got to the finals twice, and the conference finals 4 times. A lot of ninth places, so I could see an argument for them lower. Average placing of below 11, though, that's one of the best on this list. You can argue the East and whatnot, but I mean, they made the playoffs so much. Playoff score of 84, even without winning, that's still very high. So I have them up here. And again, this is the highest non-winner. Game 7, so close. To be honest, I was rooting for them. Tyrese and Siakam, they were going crazy. But yeah, now we have the Thunder, the team that beat the Pacers last year. fresh in everyone's minds. They seem so dominant, and they've been good for a while. They were only in existence for 17 seasons, though. Again, you could count the 2 years with the Hornets and Katrina and whatever. I personally don't, because I feel like it wasn't like they were borrowing. Then it was like a true move. You could argue that, but 74 is lower than these last two, but it's in much less time. A little more than half the time, because 13 would be half. So, like 60% of the time. And an even lower average placing, just by a little, but 12 playoff appearances. Got that win, 1 runner-up, and 3/3. Not quite as strong, less top 4 finishes than the Pacers and the Nuggets and all them. But I think that the Thunder did well enough. I'm not going to keep this quite the same ratio for playoff score. Other teams just have more hardware, but despite having not as much time, like they're one of the shorter teams on this list. I think second, and the other one is Vancouver, who is 2. So they haven't been around for very long, and they're already racking it up. So, and again, their team is pretty scary, which we did say about the Nuggets previously, and I mean, dude, the West is just so stacked right now. I have ideas for how the playoffs should change, but I won't get into that this video, maybe another time. Now we're moving on to the Dallas Mavericks. This team's been a little bit controversial recently, but they've had a lot of good times. Almost single digits in average placing. Playoff score at 96. Jumps up a little bit. Got that win. Runner up. So, sometimes I'm like, dang, that's a lot. But I forget that 10 ninth places is 20 points. 4 fifth places is 16. So 36. I'll do the quick math real fast. Where we have 20, then 24, because 2 times 12. So 44. Then we have 16, so 60. We have 4 times 4 is 76. Plus 20 is 96. So I did my math right. But yeah, they had that crazy Dirk win. Dirk and Luka and Kyrie. Now they have AD and the Splash Brother. Who am I thinking about? Why is he blinking? Oh my gosh. He's with Megan Thee Stallion now. Klay Thompson. That's who it is, man. I've been watching a lot of baseball and NFL, but yeah, they got the win. 2 runner-ups, 2/3. Made 19 playoff appearances. That's more than Indiana, more than Denver. That's a lot. And they had a crazy. That one win was one of the most challenging wins they could have had. It was a miracle they got that. Yeah, very good average placing. They've rarely been terrible. 19 out of 26 is very good. Playoff score of almost 100. So good stuff, Mavs. Now we have the Cleveland Cavaliers. They only got 1 win, but they were fighting for a long time. 4 runner-ups. It's pretty crazy. And those times were difficult. So really impressive stuff. LeBron, the GOAT, excuse me. But yeah, also got a 3rd, a bunch of 5ths, only 1 9th. So they only made it 12 times. Usually whenever LeBron was there. But they have a higher playoff score despite that, compared to making it 7 less times, but they got a win, and they made the finals 5 times. And they won one of them, they lost, but I think getting there is really, really important. And yeah, you can debate, like, okay, they were the East and it was easier, but like, I think they were legitimately the second best team a lot of the time. You can debate that. You have other teams like the Thunder at one point and whatnot, but like that one win was crazy. I think that having a higher playoff score despite the lower average placing, average placing is a lot worse and less playoff appearances, but getting in the finals 5 times is pretty crazy. So, in my opinion, they're a little higher. I can see it debated though. And I don't have them above teams that have multiple championships. We're gonna start getting into those. Some people might be surprised they're this low, but they only have 11 playoff appearances. Now, over half of them are in the finals, with most of them being wins. But I think that people forget to check the other seasons. Like you have the Jordan versus LeBron debate, and you can say, oh, Jordan had a perfect record in the finals. LeBron has a losing record in the finals. I love Jordan, but he also didn't make it sometimes. Like, I think that you have other seasons where you don't get there. That doesn't mean that that's okay when losing in the finals is still getting second place. People like to clown on the loser of the Super Bowl or the finals or whoever. You still got second place. That's really good. And 4 wins is crazy. They just don't have a lot, and their average placing is pretty similar to the Cavaliers. Didn't make it quite as much. One less, I guess, but didn't have as many runner-ups, but a lot of points here. 122 compared to 98, 96. So I feel like that's kind of a big jump. Getting not only double digits, but like by a significant margin. If you win, you win. I mean, they're tied for second most championships of the century. Even if you're not the most consistent, because the early Warriors not so great. Soon they kind of changed the color scheme a little bit, and then Curry started doing better, accumulated a super team. Like and they're not done yet. You never know with Jimmy Butler. You got some younger guys. Still got Draymond Green. He's a guy. But yeah, it's cool. It's cool to watch them. Steph's from my hometown. He's from Charlotte. So I kind of, whenever the Hornets were out, I would sometimes root for the Warriors because of Steph. But yeah, 4 wins, pretty impressive. That kind of carries them, and deservedly so. Now, you might not be able to think of 4 teams that you think are better than the Warriors. If you go back, I think there are. Now, the Boston Celtics have less wins, but 21 playoff appearances. Average placing of 8.54. That's crazy. And they have a higher playoff score by a decent amount. I mean, they have less finals appearances, but they have a ton of conference finals. That's the thing. The Warriors didn't have any conference finals. Either they make it all the way, or they get 1 or none wins in the playoffs. Only one time. I think they also lost in the play-in one year. I didn't necessarily count that because 10 out of 15 is 20 out of 30. I don't think you need to count all that. I think that 16 out of 30 is enough to count for being in the playoffs. I like to play it though. I think that people overhate it. It's a cool system. I don't consider it to be the playoffs. But the Celtics, I mean, they were in the top 4 10 times, and I mean, they were fun. Also, like Kevin Garnett, Paul Pierce, Ray Allen, Rajon Rondo. Like, I know recently they haven't been as popular. People don't really like Jason Tatum very much, but they're good. They won pretty recently. They're rarely bad. I mean, that average placing, I think, might be the best on this list. I mean, 21 out of 26 in the playoffs is crazy. That success rate is very, very good. So just getting there and getting wins, that'll get you there. So props to the Celtics. I think they're slightly better overall, even though they have less championships. Speaking of another 3-win team, the Heat. People kind of forget about them. They've had a lot of good players. Dwayne Wade, LeBron, Chris Bosh, and Jimmy Butler more recently. They've been up there. Jimmy Butler got traded, so they're not quite as strong. I think Bam Adebayo is still there. But they made the playoffs 20 times. You can argue about the East being easy and all that, but I mean, 3 wins, 4 runner-ups, so they're in the finals the most out of anyone on this list so far. The Warriors were in there 6 times. The Cavaliers were on there 5 times, 3, 4. So they were in there a lot, and they also got in the conference finals twice as well. And has a single-digit average placing, a higher playoff score. I think that they are the third best. That might be surprising, and people are like, "What?" Okay, the Warriors or Celtics got to be better, but I think if you look at the full and not just go off of recency bias or like, oh, super team, they must be the best. Like, if you're looking at the season by season data, I think that the Heat are third best. Now, there's probably one team that you for sure know is on there. This other team, you might not be as aware. San Antonio Spurs. Legendary team. Out of the 26 seasons, the first 20, they made the playoffs every single time. So recently they've fallen off. Scary though. Wemby last night, game 1 was last night. Dude, that was a problem. It's going to be bad. But another single-digit average placing. They got 4 wins, tied for second. Yeah, they got in the finals less, but they just made the playoffs 20 times. Average placing very good. Higher playoff score than the last 2. Starts to kind of like, they did a lot better overall. I mean, compared to the Warriors, they made it 20 times. The Warriors made 11. Like, way more consistency. And I mean, they had so many good players. Tim Duncan's from North Carolina. Gotta love him. Kawhi, Tony Parker, Manu Ginobili. Now they have Wemby. Like they just had a lot. Shout outs to Pop. They're a cool team. I think everyone's like, the Spurs passing is how basketball's meant to be played. They haven't been good recently that much. Could change again. But yeah, they're a consistent team. 4 wins is really impressive. Yeah. You can't tell who the best team is. No surprise. Los Angeles Lakers. It is the spot where all the good players go. You got so many of them. Kobe, Shaq, Steve Nash, Jeremy Lin. I mean, recently, you just have so many good players there. With LeBron, AD at one point got traded for Luka, Austin Reeves, Rui Hachimura. They're a cool team to watch. Again, the Hornets have not always been good, so sometimes I kind of gravitate to the other teams, kind of shop around a little bit when they're not doing good. But yeah, in the finals 8 times, winning 6 of them is crazy. Bubble counts. Don't ignore it. And then got a top 4. Yeah, they have a few immediate losses. That's gonna happen sometimes. Shoutouts to Ant, the Legend Slayer. But yeah, their average placing not as good as some other ones. Like I think it's like 5th or 6th best average placing. When they were bad, they were bad. So when Kobe stayed, Shaq got traded around. He had the rainbow of jerseys with Suns, Celtics, Heat, all them went around. But Kobe finished out, and I think it was, in a way, it was like they felt indebted to Kobe because he meant so much to the Lakers. And so when they were bad, they weren't going to change things even when Kobe wasn't doing as good. Yeah, he could still score, but building around him wasn't as successful as it was back in the early 2000s. And they also won before this. So even if you go back to the late 90s, they were also good. So, but yeah, 18 playoff appearances is very good. Most finals appearances. Playoff score 176. I mean, kind of blows everyone out of the water in terms of that. Not entirely, but yeah. I think the Lakers, even though they're not the most consistent in terms of sometimes they're bad, sometimes they don't go that far, they still made it a lot, and they have a lot of hardware to show for it. At first, I was like, Boston is such a good average placing, But using this playoff score to kind of show how much they were able to succeed in the postseason, which is ultimately what is measuring. Like, yeah, the regular season matters a lot. At first, I was like, am I going to add up all the records? Which would be very tedious. But I think you got to give credit where credit is due. 6 wins, 2 runner-ups. It's pretty good. So I mentioned kind of how to space all these teams out. This is what I had. I kind of mentioned, I don't think anyone's in F tier, maybe Vancouver. I think I had Seattle in between New Orleans and Hornets. New Orleans, and then also Charlotte Hornets. I know they're the same. But, yeah, I think some of these might make some more sense than others. Like, a lot of these teams are still relevant. Timberwolves being that low might seem strange. Knicks being that low might seem strange, but Suns might seem high, Pacers might seem high, but Pistons might seem high, but and Heat as well. But I think that this makes sense. We'll see. I mean, the season's long enough to where things start to level out a little bit, but injuries can matter a lot. Sometimes getting a good run in the postseason, I remember one time the Bulls got the 1 seed and the Euros got hurt, and then it kind of gave whoever played them an easy run because they weren't as good. So, but yeah, I think overall the teams that were around for the majority of the time, the Hornets made it 6 times out of 26. That's not too bad. I feel like in the team that won the most has 6. That's a lot, but a lot of teams have gotten a ring. So, I mean, how many unique teams have gotten a ring? It's what? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 unique teams, 12 out of 30 in the last 26 years have gotten a ring. It's not terrible. Again, these tiers, but if you move the Raptors up and put them with the Pacers, those are all the winners. But I think the Raptors less of a resume overall. Besides, and the Pacers had a pretty good time, but I could see these tiers being switched around, maybe even like lower A and top of B, but. Yeah, I think this is kind of how it's shaken out the past 26 years. I'm very curious to see how things will change. I've noticed a lot of times. Here, I had a spreadsheet here. This is kind of what I use to show, and you see a lot of teams year by year where they 29 immediately first right after. Like you have teams where they're bad, and they turn around, have a good stretch, you have a bad stretch. Usually it's not that sporadic. Like, I mean, the Lakers, good, bad, start to be good again, not so great here, but, that happens. And, like, it ebbs and flows. You get a really good roster, you use them for a few years, then you trade, or they retire, or they get hurt. Yeah, I think that it's fairly wide open. Yeah, there's larger markets, but a lot of teams are able to do pretty well. So I think that NBA is in a good spot, and yeah, it's what I got. And I'm probably gonna do other sports soon. Yeah, thanks for watching.